If you're thinking about working in Australia on a temporary visa with a pathway to permanence, the 482 TSS Visa might be your answer. The 482 is Australia's temporary skill shortage visa, and it's designed for skilled workers whose employers need specific expertise. Unlike some other visas, you can't apply independently. You need an Australian employer to sponsor you. There are two main options: the short-term stream lasting up to 2 years, and the medium-term stream up to 4 years. The key thing to remember is that your occupation must be on the TSS occupation list, and your employer must be approved by the Department of Home Affairs. Let's dig deeper into who's actually eligible. So who's eligible for the 482 visa? First, your English language ability needs to be at competent level or higher. That typically means an IELTS score of 5.0 in each band, or equivalent tests like TEFL or PTE. Second, you need genuine work experience, at least 2 years in your nominated occupation. This can include experience from any country, not just Australia. Third, your job must be on the TSS occupation list. This list changes, so always verify with the Department of Home Affairs or a migration agent. Fourth, you'll need to pass health checks and provide police clearance from every country you've lived in for more than 12 months. Finally, your employer must be genuinely approved and must meet labour market testing requirements, which means they've tried to find Australian workers first. Let's talk money. Let's talk costs, because migration is an investment. The visa application fee itself in 2026 ranges from $632 Australian dollars to $796, depending on whether you're applying for the short-term or medium-term stream. On top of that, you'll need health examinations, which typically cost between $300 and $600. Police clearance certificates vary widely depending on your country. Some are free, others cost up to $300 each. If you use a migration agent, which we strongly recommend, you're looking at professional fees of $1,500 to $3,500. And here's something many people don't factor in: your employer will have costs too. They're sponsoring you, which means they'll invest $2,000 to $5,000 to set up their sponsorship approval. So realistically, budget between $5,000 and $10,000 total. It's an investment, but it gives you legal work rights in Australia. Now, how long does this all take? Timing is crucial when planning your move. Here's how the process typically flows in 2026. First, your employer needs sponsorship approval. If they're already approved, that's fast, just 2 to 4 weeks. If it's their first time sponsoring someone, budget 8 to 12 weeks. During this time, you can start gathering documents. Once the employer is approved, you lodge your visa application. Processing usually takes 4 to 8 weeks for offshore applicants. Health examinations and character checks happen in parallel and typically take 2 to 4 weeks. So end to end, you're looking at somewhere between 8 and 20 weeks from start to visa grant. There's no priority processing available. Everything follows the standard departmental timeline. That's why starting early and using a migration agent to avoid delays is so important. Now let's look at what your employer needs to do. Your employer isn't just doing you a favor, they're taking on serious responsibilities. First, they must conduct labour market testing. That means advertising the job to Australian citizens and permanent residents for at least 4 weeks. They need to show genuine attempts to fill the role locally before sponsoring you offshore. Second, they must be an approved sponsor with the Department of Home Affairs. This isn't automatic, they must apply and meet strict criteria. Third, they need to demonstrate genuine need. That means providing evidence that your specific skills truly aren't available locally. Fourth, they must offer you at least market salary for the role and comply with all Australian employment laws, no exceptions. And finally, once sponsorship is approved, it lasts 5 years, but the employer must maintain compliance throughout. Any violations can result in losing their sponsorship approval. That's why choosing a reputable employer matters so much. Now, the big question: can this lead to permanent residency? This is the question everyone asks. Can I stay permanently after the 482? The answer is yes, but it requires planning and effort. The 482 doesn't automatically lead to PR, but it's an excellent stepping stone. Here's how it typically works. If you apply for the medium-term stream, the 4-year option, you're building a stronger case for permanence. You'll accumulate Australian work experience, which counts toward PR visa requirements. To transition, you'd typically apply for either a skilled independent visa or a skilled nominated visa, both points-based. You'll need a positive skills assessment from your industry's assessing authority. The good news is your TSS work experience counts toward your points. 3 years or more significantly strengthens your application. Alternatively, if your employer values you highly, they can sponsor you for the 186 Employer Nomination Scheme visa, which is a direct pathway to PR without points testing. However, this requires the employer to meet specific criteria. The bottom line, the 482 is a proven pathway to permanence for many people, but you need to plan ahead, get good migration advice, and perform well in your role. Don't assume it's automatic, treat it as a strategic stepping stone. Let's recap the essentials. The 482 is employer-sponsored. You can't apply alone. You have two options, short-term for 2 years or medium-term for 4 years. Budget between $5,000 and $10,000 for all costs combined. Expect 8 to 20 weeks processing time. And here's the important bit. Don't treat your 482 as a dead-end visa. Use it strategically as a stepping stone toward permanent residency. Build your skills, gain genuine Australian work experience, maintain compliance, and plan your PR pathway in parallel. Many people successfully transition from 482 to permanent residency, but it requires proactive planning. If you're considering the 482 visa, we recommend getting professional advice early. The investment in a good migration agent now will save you time, money, and stress later. This is general information only, not migration advice. Always check with a registered migration agent. Call us on 02 8188 1887 or visit widen.com.au for a free consultation. Thanks for watching.